Mishalchin Kalim. Also, easy Gemaras tonight. Mishalchin Kalim bed for Mishain for. When it's allowed to send all sorts of new garments and stuff, whether they're fully sewn or not fully sewn, even they're not fully sewn and not suitable to wear, but they're suitable to use as blankets. So you can send them to other people as gifts on Yontif. And it says here on the side, V'afa Pisheshbem in the small print, it says V'afa Pisheshbem Kilayim. Even if they're made of Kilayim, as long as they can be used as cushions, because Kilayim you can't use cover yourself, of course, not even as a blanket, but you can use it as a cushion to sit on, as long as it's not going to heat up your skin if it's tough material. Any of these things are permissible. Kilayim is muti if it's the tzorach moed, it's to sit on today. These things, going back to the Mishnah, says Afa B'She'en L'Tzorach Moed, but that even that means. In other words, in the Mishnah of the Bavli it says V'Hein L'Tzorach Moed, it has to be for the purpose of Yontif. And the Yerushalmi it says even if it's not for the purpose of Yontif, but they're not really arguing. When the Mishnah of the Bavli means it's something which you can use on Yontif, and the Mishnah in the Yerushalmi means it can't. It's something which you can use on Yontif even if it's not directly necessary for Yontif. So the bottom line is got to be something which is suitable for Yontif, even though it's not completely meant for Yontif. Avlo Salam Muslim, you can't go out with the studded sandal because studded sandals are not allowed to wear on Shabbos Yontif because they're very dangerous, and they used to once they had a stampede on Shabbos and all the studded sandals killed the people in the stampede. Lo Minal Sheyotov, nor are allowed to wear a set. They were studded with nails. So they had a stampede, and people actually were. Yeah. No. You're not allowed to send that. Nor allowed to send a shoe which is not sewn, because if it's not sewn, then it's not usable. If you done also not a white shoe, they should start Umar. They didn't wear white shoes in the old days. A white shoe needs somebody to blacken it. Even if it's not Tzorach Yontif, as long as you can use on Yontif, draw benefit from it, so you can send it. Says this is what the Mishnah says when it says that you need a craftsman to blacken the shoe. You don't need a craftsman. Right? It means in Yeshua Tzorach Beitza, you need the dye. Beitza is a block, like a bar of dye, which you used to use to blacken the shoes. So since you need the boot black, that's why you can't send it on Yontif. Now, Masis and Rabbi Lezer, our Mishnah is Rabbi Lezer. How so? We learned Talmud over there in Masechta Kelim, Mino al ha'ambus. If the shoe is still on the form, in other words, they used to make shoes on a form, right? The shoemakers still have forms to today. So the shoe is on a form. Rabbi Lezer says it's not yet a keli. It's not a keli until it's taken off the form. When it's on the form, it's still considered to be like in the progress. Because it's already considered to be a keli, even though it's still on the form, on the last, the official name is. Now, the thing is, it's a little bit difficult why our Mishnah is like Rabbi Lezer, but the Pnei Moshe explains because our Mishnah says a shoe ain't over till it's over. It says in our Mishnah a shoe if it's not sewn, but for me this way or if it's not blackened. But we assume that means the shoe as long as it's not fully made yet to the last possible step, it's still not considered to be a shoe. That's Rabbi Lezer who says that a shoe, even if it's fully made, if it's still on the last, it's not considered yet to be a shoe, and therefore it's not makabel tuma. So our Mishnah dovetails with that shot. That's what the Gemara wants to say. Says Gemara, no, divrei kolni. Not true. Everybody can agree here. Even though one would say that a shoe on the last is already a shoe, will say you can't take it off and send it to somebody else on Yontif. You know why? It's like you're giving it the final finishing touches on Yontif. That's like Masakin Mon, it's like you're fixing it on Yontif, but that's not permissible. Okay, so you now have to send the shoe on Yontif unless it's already off the last, because as long as it's on the last, even though it's already in your shoe, it looks like you're fixing it, finishing it when you take it off the last. Ma'ulami Cholov. Oh, I skipped. Tani, we learned the aim packets a minimum alamus b'yontif. Now allowed to take a shoe off in amus, meaning off this last on yontif. Packets a minimum alamus b'chol shmoy, but you're allowed to do so on chol hamoed. But chol hamoed, they weren't good. They didn't make such xeris, even though you're not really allowed to make things which require craftsmanship on chol hamoed. But this is just my sign, even on yontif itself, right? It looks like you're finishing something, so certainly a chol hamoed is permissible. Ma'olami challah b'yontif. Are you allowed to make cheese on yontif? So, imoy merat kain. If you're going to says more, no, we don't let you make cheese on yontif. Not because there's any inherent diss for making cheese, because it's all chol nefesh, right? However, imoy merat kain. If you say a guy can make cheese on yontif, afu choli v'umami yontif l'chol. Make preparation. He'll make us cheese on yontif for the next week. So therefore, we don't allow it because cheese you don't make in small quantities, right? So it's meichin. Tan Rav Chalafta ben Shol said Tachshitin also Shalchan. Now to send jewelry as gifts on or adornments on Yontif as a gift. This is very difficult to make Hamayim Yorach HaShulchan. Asks why not? Women wear jewelry. So he explains the Gemara up to a point, up to Amud Beis, to explain the story about, like our Mishnah story about shoes which weren't complete and garments which are complete, story about jewelry which is not fully finished yet. Okay. So you're not allowed to send that on Yontif. Also Shalchan. It's only to send them because it's not considered to be Tzorach Yontif. But if for a woman or a man, I guess, wants personally to wear them, they're permitted to do so. Mutter. Tani Metaltinas or Shofar Lashkus Bosat. One is allowed to take a shofar in order to give a child to drink in it. As a pinchas, you're allowed to take a notebook. As a karkash, a rattle. As a mare and a mirror, the chassan came in order to cover kalim. In other words, a klisham lachtul isser, normally using for also purposes. But on Shabbos, so on Yontif, now to carry them, or on Shabbos, we're allowed to carry them, using them for a mutter purpose, such as to cover a vessel with them. So the question is, what's wrong with the mirror? Why is the mirror considered to be a klisham lachtul isser? So I think I once heard that their mirrors used to have actually razors on the side. At least the women's mirrors, because they used to look in the mirror, see hair, and they used to remove it with that razor. So that's why it's a klisham lachtul isser, because it was actually used for cutting. Okay? To see, we learned, Amar Rabbi Vun, Vun said, Mastisa Amrasha also loivshan. Now, this is going back to the jewelry. Our Mishnah tells us it should be forbidden to wear jewelry, at least it's unfinished jewelry on Yontif. The Tzinan says, Kosher above Yontif, anything which you derive benefit from on Yontif, Mishalchin also, you're allowed to send it. So therefore, how can you draw a distinction previously, Rabbi Chalafta ben Shol and Rabbi Mana, between the prohibition to send jewelry and the permissibility to wear them? Either both are mutter or both are osir. So it says, well, actually the Gemara doesn't answer that question. Okay? The Gemara goes on to a new thing. Ma'u hada detani. What is that which it says? Metalting is a shor v'ashkus satinok. That which it says, no, actually, this is a continuation. So Gemara's question now. Gemara's a question on the table. How can you be permitted to wear the takshitim but not to send them? So it says more. I'll tell you. The time. What's that we learned from Talmud? So you're allowed to take a shofar, nashkus baratinok, in order to give a child to drink. It's a pinchas, it's a karkash, it's a mare, the notebook, the rattle, and the mirror. L'chasvim zakein, allowed to carry them in order to cover kalim. Ksheyesh lam torah kli. That's because they're already a fully formed vessel. And that's the difference between tachshitim, the Bumar means to imply, and let's say a mirror or a rattle. A mirror rattle is a fully formed keli. That's why you're allowed to move it and use it for a mutter purpose. However, the tachshitim we're discussing, they're not fully formed and completed yet. That's why, although you're allowed to move them and wear them, you're not allowed to send them anywhere because you're only allowed to send stuff which is fully formed and completed. Okay? Says more further, Akadum Tafshitim Shozov. Now, this really is going on Masechta Shabbos. Masechta Shabbos says you're not allowed to wear gold jewelry out in Rosh Hashanah, because they're afraid you're going to take it off and show people and come to carry Rosh Hashanah. Akadum Tafshitim Shozov, that's gold jewelry. What about with silver jewelry? Are we also choshesh woman's going to take off with silver jewelry to show other people, or she's not so excited about silver, she's going to take her off and show it to anybody? So Rabbi Yirmiyah also, they said name Rabbi Yirmiyah sometimes also, Rabbi Yirmiyah Mutter, they said sometimes it's Mutter, name the same Rabbi Yirmiyah. Rabbi Chizkiah says, so what's going on? Is the Mutter is also. So Rabbi Chizkiah, Ana Yoda, I know Rosh of the Sofa, I know the beginning and end of this, meaning I know the story. Tying the Kikin Hava Misrabion, young children, young female children obviously, were misrabim, were going up Bedarted Rabbi Yirmiyah in the area Rabbi Yirmiyah lived. After Shol Rabbi Zira, so they came to ask Rabbi Zira what the halacha is. Amalei lo test, or actually Rabbi Yirmiyah came to ask Rabbi Zira, what did you tell him the halacha is? So Amalei, so Rabbi Zira said, fudge it. Lo test or lo tishrei, do not forbid it and do not permit it. Because really we want to forbid wearing jewelry, because you might wear it out Rosh Hashanah, right? And come to show people. But then, on the other hand, if by silver jewelry, so it's not so likely that actually people are going to show it because it's not so chashuv. So therefore, Rabbi Zira said waffle on it, and Rabbi Yirmiyah waffled. So sometimes it sounded like he was saying mutter, sometimes it sounded like he was saying also. Okay? Hajra Beitza Shanova. Mishnah. Yontif Shechal Yos B'Erev Shabbos. When Yontif comes to Erev Shabbos, Leivashim Mitchila, you cannot cook Lichat Chila. Yontif the Shabbos from Yontif to Shabbos. Al Vashu Yontif, but you can cook for the Yontif which you're on. And if you leave over, host your Shabbos, you can eat the stuff you leave over on Shabbos. Most of the Tavshul Me'erev Yontif, what can you do in order to cook on Yontif for Shabbos? You make a dish from before Yontif. There's some who love Shabbos and you rely on that for Shabbos, meaning that's your Erev Tavshilin, right? Once you made, you're allowed to continue cooking whatever you want for Shabbos. The Shamri Shtei Tavshilin has to be 2 cooked dishes. But assuming Tavshil Echad, 1 cooked dish suffices. Modim B'Dago Beit, so all of which everybody concedes that if you have a fish and it's coated with egg, Shehein Shtei Tavshilin, that works as 2 dishes. If you ate it or you looked at it, Tavshilin, Loi Vashla B'Tchila L'Chatchilu, should not rely in order to cook for Shabbos on Yontif. Shir Menakosh, if you left anything over, Somech Olel with Shabbos, you can rely in terms of Shabbos as well. Okay, and that means you can cook on Yontif to prepare for Shabbos. Ksiv, it says, it's Asher Tofu, it's Asher Tavashlu B'Shelu. Now this is just an asmachta, but it says that by the mon, that which you're going to bake, and that you're going to cook. For you bake for that on that which is baked, and you cook for that which is cooked. Meaning, you need to have 2 components in tavshilin. One a bread-like component to permit you to bake, and the other a cook-like component to permit you to permit you to cook. Rabbi Shua says, no, you only have to have a cooked dish. You don't have to have a baked dish in order to make erev tavshilin. Okay. Mata Rebbe Lezer, what's the logic of Rebbe Lezer? It says there's a share tofu, in meaning the way Dash is, if you've already baked a food, then continue to bake. But as a share of actually already cooked, Bashelu, you're allowed to continue. But you need 1 min to represent each one of these things. Mata Yeshua, what's the pastor of Yeshua, that he dashes to tell us, so you need 1 min, both for cooking and baking together. So it says the Gemara, it's Asher Tofu ve'es Asher Tavashlu B'Shelu. There's a vav between Es Asher Tofu Ofu and Es Asher Tavashlu B'Shelu. So the way he dashes that vav is again so on a smach with drasha. But the way he dashes it is that which you're going to bake and that which you're going to cook can rely on a cooked dish as a tafshil. Leslie said, "Asin commando mar b'mora nidna Torah." Now this line is very difficult. What exactly it means? I'll tell you like the Pnei Moshe. The Korban Eidah is a pshat, Pnei Moshe is a pshat, and then the Shari Torah, so Yisrael changes the Girsa. So the Pnei Moshe's pshat is that if these psukim were going to Erev Tavshilin, and they were said in Alush, which was one of the later trips after Mora, before Matan Torah. So, Asi commanded Mora Nitna Torah. According to Pina, the Torah was already given in Mora, so then it makes sense for Moshe Rabbeinu to come several stops later and say in Alush, it's Asher Tofu, Asher Bashlu Bashelu. Because already it says, because then the Torah is already given, and then it says here, it's Asher Tofu, it's Asher Tavashlu, and it says Kidvar Bidvar Hashem, or Kidvar Hashem. So we already know it's a Dvar Hashem from Mora, and now we're giving modifications on it. Baram, however, Kimad Omar, Baram Kimad Omar Alushni no Shabbos. According to being that the Shabbos only given Alush when they got the Mon. So what does it mean Kidvar Hashem? Omdim Ba'osh, Masirim Ba'osh. We're standing Osh, we're giving a warning about Osh. What does it mean Dvar Hashem then? But Dvar Hashem sounds like it was the Dvar Hashem previously. Where is it Dvar Hashem previously? It must have been the Shabbos given earlier, must have given the Shabbos was given in Mora. Now, as I told you, the Shari Torah says this whole change to the Girsa. He says that the way to read it is according to the opinion that the Torah was given in Olush, that's good. Viram Kamanda Mar B'Mora Nitna Torah. According to the opinion that in Mora the Torah was given, it's bad. Why is that? Because if the Torah was given in Olush, so then HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives them the rules and exceptions right at the beginning when it's given. But the Torah was given in Mora earlier, so HaKadosh Baruch Hu should have given them the rules back then. Why is HaKadosh Baruch Hu waiting for Olush in order to give them the rules? So you learned that again the order is reversed, that if there was Torah was given it now, then it makes sense to give the rules and exceptions now. Excuse me, the Torah was given previously, why did HaKadosh Baruch Hu wait till now? That's again, as I said, that's how he learns the Gemara. Okay, says more, says more, let's look at this. Var Torah, it's an issue the rice will cook from Yontif to Shabbos. Erev Tavshilin matir, and Erev Tavshilin be matir it. How could this be? How can Erev Tavshilin be din Rabban be matir the rice? So it says more, Bedinu Ushu, or really according to the strict letter of the law. Bedinu Ushu, you open the Vashi with Yontif Shabbos. You want you to be able to cook from Yontif Shabbos because Yontif is less severe Kedusha and Shabbos is more severe Kedusha. However, if we permitted that, if you said it permitted, Afu open and Vash be Yontif the Chol, the person would have come to bake and cook from Yontif to a weekday, which is absolutely forbidden. So, therefore, Isach Chamei, Matinas and Mitos, therefore we may make a person have an Erev Tavshilin. Now, Isach Chamei. Now, it says, I got a problem with this. Come see. Latinas and Mitos Miyontif l'Shabbos. One is allowed to set the bed and set the table for Yontif Shabbos. Vein Ofidum Vash Miyontif Shabbos. You're not allowed to cook for Yontif Shabbos. Why the discrepancy? Why can you set the table and not cook? So it says the Gemara, Rabbi Ela. No, Rabbi Ela said, "Below Matin Yontif Shabbos." Why is one allowed to make the beds on Yontif Shabbos? Because you're allowed to make the beds even on Shabbos, on Friday night for Shabbos morning. So what do you want for just like you make the beds on Yontif Shabbos, so you should be allowed to cook for Yontif Shabbos? No. Again, the same line of reasoning. It's just like when it's not allowed to cook or bake on Friday night for Shabbos morning, so too was not allowed to cook or bake from Yontif to Shabbos. That's different from making beds. One is allowed to make a bed from Friday night to Shabbos morning, and therefore one is allowed to make a bed from Yontif to Shabbos, because it's obviously a lesser category, and it's not even a malach. It's just saying which one should refrain from doing. It says that which you're allowed to cook on Shabbos, on Yontif, and leave over for Shabbos is only if you don't play a ruse, like putting a little piece of meat in a pot and say, well, I want the whole piece of meat for Yontif. Masisa Rabbi Shimon Lezer, that same goes like Rabbi Shimon Lezer. The Tani, or V'hotani, should be according to Mechamayim, he says V'hotani, Ain't sim yontif l'motzoi yontif. What is not allowed to make from yontif to motzoi yontif, any food, obviously, that's the case. Right now, to make from yontif for motzoi yontif. Next to word, instead of a hatani, it should be avo. However, memala hi isha, a woman can fill up kedera's basar, a pot full of meat. Avo pisha eno ochel mimena el kechaticha achas. She's going to, even though she's only going to eat for one piece of meat. Kum kumushamai, a person could fill up a urn of hot water. Avo pisha eno shel simena el kosel, even if it's only going to come for a drink of a cup, 1 cup. Avo pas ain't over the circle, but bread you can only bake as much as you need because it's not enhanced by being done in a public atmosphere. So in any event, so we see here there are missions like Rishim ben Elazar. How so? We haven't seen Rishim ben Elazar, but we know it's not like Rabbanan, because Rabbanan hold that by bread you're only allowed to bake what you need, which sounds like. No, that's not his raya. 1 second. Right. The raya is the raya that our mission that this which says Vachlo Yarim cannot be going to Tanakama, because Tanakama is the one that said he can cook a whole pot of meat for 1 piece. It's the greatest aroma in the world, right? To cook a whole pot of meat for 1 piece. So it must be Tanakama holds of haroma, because he allows you to do that. Now it says the Gemara, Tari Rishim L'Azomer, Memali Isha Esatano Pasu. Rishim L'Azar argues, says the reason why, he says you always need to have a reason. But the truth is that the reason extends even to a case of baking in an oven where you only need 1 piece of bread. Because Mali Isha Satano Pas, because a full oven tastes better. So therefore, what we're saying in essence is that Rabbi Shimon Elazar holds you don't have anything which is done if it's completely and totally harama. And therefore he said the reason why you can bake a lot of bread together is because it's not aroma, because that makes actually the bread taste better. But anytime it's not like that, it's considered to be aroma. It's considered to be, tricking. And he would not permit it. The other Rabbanan would allow loopholes, he doesn't. Okay, so again, the reason Rishim is considered to be like the ton of this Mishnah here is because he doesn't allow harama. He says you can bake a lot of bread, but not because harama is mutar, but rather because having a lot of bread is good for whatever piece of bread you're baking. Okay? Says the Gemara, Torah Shravuna. Kadar Shemel Lazar, you're allowed to fill up your oven full of bread, even though you only need 1 piece because it's good for the bread. Darish Rabbi Yochanan Tferiyeh, Rabbi Yochanan Darshan Tferiyeh, Kadar Shemel Lazar, Shemel Lazar. Have a Darish on Halacha. Now he was Darshi in Halacha, he was giving shiur, but didn't pass Halacha L'Maisa. He didn't serve in Luvdoi. They thought he meant to do Halacha L'Maisa. They should actually follow his opinion. East boy Maimor some said Eve Dorash, he could actually darshan that people could follow through la halacha l'maisa what he said. Darshloan. Asked him Mishalom Leit, so then they came and asked him, is it taka true? He said it's the mutter. So Mishalom Leit, Darash Lahon la halacha, and he told them it's really just halacha, not l'maisa. Don't do l'maisa. Lo yadin. Then he gave yet another drasha. Then they weren't sure anymore whether he heard what he was saying, whether one could go and do it, or whether it's just theoretical halacha. The bottom line is we don't know if anybody actually passed in halacha or ma'isa, like a Rishim Elazar, that he could fill up the entire stove with bread in order for 1 piece of bread. Says the Gemara, Rabbi Abba Barzati. O Rabbi Avo Kadar Rishim Elazar, Rabbi Avo Pascha Locha Ma'isa Rishim ben Elazar. Rabbi Chia Shari Elman said, when you make an Erev Tavshil, is a new sugya. Tzarech I have to say, oh, why I make the Erev Tavshil for myself, Val Mishalo Erev and anybody else who didn't make an Erev. They let them be included in my Erev Tavshil. Haresh Lo Erev Acher, Haresh Lo Erev, if a person did not participate in Erev, Achem She'irvu Mutar La'asos Lo Mishalo. The people who did participate in Erev were allowed to help him out in carrying things because they actually participated. Not in carrying things and cooking things. Because they actually participate in Erev Tavshil, right? So other people can do it for them, right? Excuse me? They can cook for him, right? Rabbi Mishalo, from his stuff, Rabbi Zira said, Mizakul and Mishalo. No, they have to, the guy who forgot to make the shvua, he has to release the property to them to make it. What did I say there? We say more than that. Rabbi said, a person when he brings a korban, he has to say, another korban. He makes an Erev Tavshil, say it's for me and for the people who didn't leave an Erev. So Reish Lo Yirev V'Achim, Reish Lo Yirev, person didn't make an Erev. Achim Shir, other people who didn't make an Erev, Mutar Ma'asos Mishlo, they're allowed to do the stuff for themselves. Rabbi Zika and B'Shem, Rabbi Zika said, Mizakul and Mishlo. It has to be more than that. It has to be that he's giving them his property to use. Because otherwise they're actually giving benefit from his own, and that they're going in there, they're doing all that he needs to do in order to properly have the right to. In essence, it's really a ruse. I mean, the question is, it's aroma. The question is how far we take the aroma. Do we take the aroma to the point where he gets to keep it? And they come into his kitchen and they cook it to his kitchen, or we do not take it that far. Rather, they have to actually take his matana home, cook it them in their house, and then give him back a gift, whatever they made. Okay. So again, Rabbi Zim said, they actually have to take his property. I don't know if they have to physically take it out of the house, but they have to take possession of his property in order for them to cook for him on Yontif, now that they themselves made Erev Tavshilin. Now, the bottom line is, what happens if Haresh Lo Erev Lo Erev Lo Achem? Nobody made an Erev in the entire city, at least not for each other. So in that case, you're stuck up the creek. Really, we shouldn't allow you to do anything, but we can't let you starve on Yontif. So Tzola on Shabbos, the next day in Shabbos, so Tzola Daga, you can cook for yourself a small fish for the Shabbos. You keep yourself hot water for Shabbos. Shmomar Balikvos says you can light the candle with it. The rest, tough luck. Okay, so we're talking about a case where a person didn't make an Erev Tavshilin. That's the maximum he's allowed to do, and everything else he has to suffer. Time Rebbe Chia, we learned like this. Rebbe Chia taught us, he's allowed to draw up a jug of water and light himself a candle. That's what he's allowed to do. Maisa, there's a Maisa Bechot Shehid, there's a person took a note that his brother, someone not to have any benefit from him. If he doesn't learn Torah, the father wanted to learn. Rabbi Yosef came and allowed him to give also the minimum, like we said before. He allowed the child, right, to actually the guy took on the shvur was he's not going to afford any benefit to anybody who's what was the case? Yeah, I got it. He's not going to allow his son to benefit him in any way, shape, or form. Or the son wants to serve, do chores and stuff like that. So he's not going to, so a guy says, I'm not going to let my son do anything. I want him to sit and learn. So Ba Maisa Lifnei Rabbi Yitzchak heard such a Maisa V'Itilon, he allowed the son Lamalos Lo Chavish Shamayim to fill up for his father a bucket of water and light from the candle. That's not considered to give him essential hana, which is forbidden, of course, according to the terms of the vow. Rabbi Chia the Great came into his house. They said to him, "Inchin ma'arava, we forgot to make an erev shilling." So Amralon, so he had a novel solution. He said that, "Are there any beans here from yesterday's meal, which you started making yesterday?" So they said, "Yes, there is." So and he relied on Erev Tchum, because there was one thing which they cooked already from Thursday. So that teaches that 1 minute is sufficient for Erev Tavshilin, just one type of thing, because all he had was beans. Says more, nope, we don't trust it. There's also spinach woven in. At least we should be able to learn that there was not a kazayis, because I know it's not kazayis. Kormei says it's because they didn't give a shiur. So he says, Isav on Shira. Adam Ra'afa B'Shem B'Kazais. Isav on Shira says more, no, did have a shiur B'Kazais. The shiur B'Kazais is present. Adam Ra'afa class notes, but at least we should see if you don't have to make a condition, right? If you forgot, make a condition. Tanai Hoyle R'chia Godol. Yeah, the Tanai, that Tanai was allowed him to now eat whatever was there. Or make whatever was there, the bare minimum, because he had a Tanai that, what was the Tanai with? I guess a verbal declaration. This verbal declaration, if anything happened, this would be what he would rely on. Let's say he was away from home, so he made a verbal declaration wherever he was. So whatever he would find when he got home from yesterday, that would be his Erev Tchumen. That would be his Erev Tavshilin. Yeah. So it says the Gemara, Tani Omer B'Shem B'Lo. As Hashem B'Lo says, Modim B'Sham B'Sil B'Sham B'Sil B'Sil Concede, Shem Shnei Tavshilin. That there are two, that you need to have two cooked dishes to make an Erev Tavshilin. Amanechluku was in Machlokas Dog about Beitza, about a fish and on an egg. Yeah, it's on it. I don't know. I guess a carrot or something. Shebeishami Omrim Tavshil Echo Beishami says since it's all cooked together, it's going to be one dish. The Risoni Shtei Tavshilin, the Basil says two Tavshilin. So it sounds like we're reneging, and the Mephoshim say this pretty much explicitly in a couple of lines. Sounds like they were negating them, and that we said in the Mishnah. Mishnah said Basil says one Tavshil is enough. Sounds like here need daf katuv Tavshilin, right? Hakom Modim Shimpir Per Beitza Guy Mulech, but everybody agrees that you put a little bit of egg on top of herring. Or Shechite Kafu Tachas a dog, or you cut up a turnip under your fish. Or Shabishal Shnei Menim B'Ter, you cook two types in a pot. Shem Shtei Tavshilin, that they're all Shtei Tavshilin. It's like the Talmud, meaning Rav Shimon ben Elazar in the Brisa, who says you do need two Tavshilin, not like the Mishnah, which seems to indicate quite basically only one is sufficient. Rava said, I say, Ein Pachos Mikazayis. Erev Tavshilin has to be no less than a Gazayis. So that is a more very interesting answer, parry on that one. Leisa do pli Rabbi Yochanan doesn't argue Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Amar alive al misha lo irev. I'm allowed to make the Erev Tchut Tavshilin in my city for myself and for people who didn't make an Erev. So if I make an Erev for people who didn't make an Erev, so let's say I use a Kazayis myself. Do they have a Kazayis? Nobody's got a Kazayis. So from here, Rabbi Yochanan, you don't need a Kazayis for Erev Tavshilin. Okay? It says Gemara, Maslisim is Yochanan. And it's also right for Yochanan from a Mishnah which says, or a Brisa, says, the nair when you first make it, and as much as you lose, and no shiur, has no shiur, not even Mikosais. Yontif Shchayos Be'erev Shabbos. When Yontif comes to Erev Shabbos, you can't make an Erev on Yontif. Even if you have an Erev Tavshilin, you can't make an Erev for that Shabbos. Lo b'chatzeros, not allowed to call you in the courtyards. Lo b'tchumin, nor to make a tchum together. Yirei Meir. Chachamim and Chachamim say, Ma'arvim b'chatzeros, was allowed to make an Erev together in the chatzeros. But not in the tchum. Why? Ma'arvim b'chatzeros, shekera matilo davar shum mutar lo. By tchum, you're allowing him something which is permissible for him, which not by chotzer. By chotzer, you're allowing him something that is mutar lo. In other words, it's his kitchen which he's constantly using. Yeah. Ve'emarim tchumim. We don't make a erev tchumin on Yontif becomes erev Shabbos. Shekein at matir lo davar she'aser lo. We want to permit him which is forbidden to him. Why should we permit you to do so? So it says the Gemara, Is tani u'michlaf. There are those who learn the opposite, that chachamim are machri b'chatzeros and make a by tchumin, right? Amrei b'ezahol v'hein tani u'michlaf, since you have one case in which one guy is machmi, another case in which the other guy is machmi, and one case in which the second guy is mekel, another case in which the second guy is machmir. So therefore, since there are conflicting versions, tichon adam mechush, we have to be afraid and answer both erev chatzeros and erev tavshilin, right? Because we don't know which ones they were matir, which ones they answer, so we have to answer both, and that's what we possibly. You can't make erev chatzeros, erev tavshilin on Friday, when that Friday is a Yontif as well. Rabbi Yirmiyah Rabbi Sira said, Man, Dava Tavos, he wants to do it good. Mara Minesmo, he does his Erev from before Yontif begins, from Thursday. Rabbi Yirmiyah says, Hodat Omer B'Shalo also Erev Tavshilin. It's only if he doesn't make an Erev Tavshilin, but he makes an Erev Tavshilin, he even makes his Erev Chatzeros on Yontif. The Erev Chatzeros allows you, the Erev Tavshilin allows you to make an Erev Chatzeros. So it says, Gemara Rabbi Yisrael Bun, boy, the Erev Tavshilin matters in Mechitzas. Where did you get that idea? How is Erev Tavshilin possibly make it permissible for you to put up walls and put an Erev? There's no such thing. Okay. Chali Osachar Shabbos. If Pesach comes out after Shabbos, Yerushalmi Beitza, if Shabbos, you put everything in the mikvah from before Shabbos, now to tell you anything on Shabbos. On Shabbos Yontif. The Tumri Kelim Yivnei Shabbos, the Kelim you have to do from before Shabbos, the Vadim Shabbos, that the person can tell himself on Shabbos. Masisim Kelim B'Kedushim. Says the Gemara, our mission is about large vessels. Abel Kain thought the small vessels, or the Bali brings down clothing. So Marim Aleim Matil, you can actually tell them by a ruse. What's the ruse? You say, I'm not toiling this pot, I'm using this pot to draw up water from the well. Now it happens to be in drawing up water from the well, the pot also gets stored, but that's a ruse, that's okay. Okay? That's what it says. Time Rabbi Yerushalmi who Adam Kli Tamei Min Abor. A person is allowed to fill up a keli which is tamei from a bor, umarim olav, and he makes it a ruse. In other words, he says he's picking up a carpool, but he's picking up a bucket of water, right? Says picking up a bucket of water, but he's really coming to be matar his water which is in the kli, right? Tani nofak le'etoch bor. There's a similar idea here. If his bucket falls into the well, marim aleim matbilon, so he can be marim on it and toivel it, meaning that he can, he can it's kind of like he can. Make sure once it's in the water that it gets fully wet and that its tumor falls off it. Train Amoraim, the two Amoraim argue. Chadamar bekelim shigvu ba'ava tuma. One said our Mishnah story about kelim which became Tomin Ava tuma, and that's why you can't do haram on them and table them. The Charon Amar bekelim shigvu v'lada tuma. It's only I got that backwards. Let me do that again. That means that what tuma are you allowed to pull a ruse and table it on Yontif? So one said that by kelim which are tummy ba'ava tuma, and the other said kelim which are tummy by vlada tuma. Man vlada tuma, you're only allowed to do it if your keli is tummy b'vlada tuma. He said man vlada tuma that's by a keli which is already tummy ba'ava tuma. So afilu b'chol yaton harev shemesh. I want to look this up because I don't remember all the questions say when does a keli ever need harev shemesh. But he said, even derech haroma, if it has tummy with an avatuma, it requires nightfall. So therefore, the toivel on Yom is like achona for a weekday. So that certainly should not be permissible. But again, the difficulty is when do you ever need harev shemesh by a keli? Let's see if I can find this. No. The Gersa was wrong here, but there's no further explanation. I guess the certain kelim, so I don't remember that much Shilchus Tumantara, but I guess the certain kelim which they become tummy, they call Harev Shemesh. So it says, what about those kelim, right? I feel Chol Yeton Harev Shemesh, and therefore now it's to toivel them. You know what? Those kelim, Yotaka, they won't become fully torn until nightfall. But we're talking about a guy who doesn't need to be fully torn because he's not a fully Torah guy himself. He just tries to keep his chulin Torah. Practice for the Beis HaMikdash. So therefore, for that purpose, it's sufficient just to put the stuff in the mikveh, even if you don't wait for Harev Shemesh. If it's just for chulin, which is you're pretending are kodesh, right? So, so he holds that even then you're allowed to do haram on Yontif. Anyways, Mukhyi to go to Mikvah can toivel normal on Tisha B'Av and Yom Kippur. Amrachin is going to call him. No, not on Yom Kippur. It's worthwhile over the loss of our God's house. Go to the mikveh on Shabbos. Why is that? Because he can be toivel or shkein adam toivel kul b'Shabbos. Go to the mikveh. He's about carry on Shabbos become tar from his carry. Now, if you have water which became tamei, you can dunk it into the mikveh in a stoneware jug. Now this stoneware, so the water shouldn't be matame. The jug is not tamei because stoneware is not makabel tuma. So you can put water into a mikveh to make the water tahor. The way that works is called a shaka. Shaka means the water which is tamei in the vessel touches the water which is tahor outside the vessel. Without touching.
So it gets submerged.
It gets submerged, but they don't mix.
Oh, it's sealed in pot?
No. It's just the water. If you ever...
What is the water?
I just noticed the other day, I had some colored grape juice in a cup and I put it in a dishpan. It didn't get mixed in. It dissipated very slowly. If you left it there, it would dissipate, but otherwise just, the water you draw up in your bucket is the water which goes down in the bucket. So it's connected, but it doesn't dissipate. So you're allowed to do Ashaka, Bikli Evatara Velomat Bilin, but you're not allowed to Toivel. Not allowed to Toivel Kalim on Yom Shabbos, or of course on Yom Tov either. But Bilin Migav Legav, everyone is allowed to do an unnecessary tumah, the Tvila, one which goes from back to back, from Chabura to Chabura and Yat. The Gemara is going to explain what that means. My season look Rebbe, our Mishnah not like Rebbe. The time we learned Ein my feeling Kale Gabe Memo Beyontif, when it's not allowed to title a Kali because one wants to use the water it's on Yontif. They Mashiknas of my Bikli Evan Taram was not allowed to do this Ashaka process with a Kli Evan in order to make him tired. They were Rebbe. Chacham says Matbilin Kli Agabe Mema Beyontif, one is allowed to title a Kali as a ruse because he needs to get the waters to Yontif. Mashiknas Amayim Bikli Evan is the one that's allowed also to do Ashaka with Tara B'Shabbos and to be tired on Shabbos. Even now, this explains an interesting thing in our Mishnah. In our Mishnah it says that you're only allowed to be Meshik the Mayim in a Kli Evan. In the previous Mishnah, we said you're allowed to be Meshik the Mayim even in a Keli which is Tameh in order to get that Keli Torah. So which is correct? You can only use a Kli Evan which cannot be Magabel Tumor, or even something which is a Kli which is Tameh and use this as a ruse in order to get a Torah. So it says more quite clearly, that which our Mishnah says, Meshiknas Hamayim B'Keli Be'evan L'Tara, it's B'Shabbos. On Shabbos, you're not allowed to do a ruse. So on Yom Tov, you're allowed to do a ruse, not on Shabbos. Law Ma'av L'Shel Evan, so Rebbe says quite clearly it has to be a stoneware Kli, B'Shel Eitz, low. But not on a wooden one, and that's also, again, on Shabbos, he holds you're not allowed to do our own. Kates Migav L'Gav, top of Yudal V'Rav, what's Migav L'Gav, it's Mutter, Rotzel Asosi Soso Gabi Gito. Let's say you wanted to make your dough tar, and then you say, no, I'm not going to make my dough now, I'm going to make press my wine, or make my wine, or do something with my wine. And this, you had a vessel which you're using in the context of your harvesting, and now you want to use it for your doing the grapes, pressing the grapes. So when it's allowed to change the vessel, you toivel already for use with grain, but you toivel with use with grapes. So when that tefillah, you make a symbolic tefillah when you change the use of the bucket from one to the other. That tefillah can be done in the other because not as tefillah which is really necessary for tumah, and just a symbolic tefillah. So therefore you can even do it in Yom Tov as well. Okay. Now says the Gemara. Keitzad michabura l'chabura. What does it mean from group to group? So if you're eating with one group, and you start eating with another group, so again, toivo, but that feels just a chumrah, so therefore you're allowed to do it even on Yom Tov. Now, b'shamri mevim shtoi vein somchen leim. B'shamri says it brings shlomim to the Beis HaMikdash on Yom Tov, but you can't do smicha, because smicha is an issa d'Rabbanan, because it used to be soimach on the animal with all their might. Means you used to lean on the animal, and the animals are muktzah, so therefore you're not allowed to lean on them. So leaning on them was a no-no, right? So therefore don't bring shlo, you bring shlo, but don't do smicha. Avlolos, you don't bring olos all together. Even olos riyah, the olos you don't bring them. Why? Because only melach, which is the mutter, is melach of ochel nefesh. And olos, nobody gets to eat, it goes directly mizbech. But some reyavim shlomim ve'olos, meaning both Shlomo and Olos, because he holds the fact that Mizbech eats them is like God eats them, and that's okay. Some claim you can do smicha as well. B'Shamai mutar smicha shelo kedaka. Now B'Shamai holds that you can do smicha not in the proper fashion, but so many lo smicha shelo kedaka, you have to do smicha in the proper fashion. That's the core root of their machlokas. Ezu is shelo kedaka. What is shelo kedaka? Not how you use your hands, rather me esmo. Do smicha the previous day. That's the machlok. So you do smicha the previous day or not. Rabbi Zira said, everybody concedes b'asham mitzorah, by an asham brought by mitzorah where smicha is not mandatory. Shesamachol mi'esmo. If you did smicha yesterday, the word lo is a typo. Everybody takes it out the Mechamayim, the Yerushalmi Beitza. So then So you don't need smicha. You did smicha yesterday. It's fine. When you don't need it, you don't have to do it at the right time. On the other hand, shlomim, which are bringing based on Mikdash, did smicha yesterday, it should be lo yotza. You're not yotze because there, the smicha and shchita to be immediately next to each other. Mapli in what's the machlokas? So not everybody agrees. What's the machlokas? B'shami chagiga, shlomim which come because of the yontif. B'shami avdin lom. B'shami says they are alike. There's also a type of Asha Mitzora, like an Asha Mitzora, so don't do smicha today. But still, Adinle, they make it like Shama Nedava, where you're not Mechuyev, so therefore you can do smicha today as well. Rabbi Yisrael said, Hey no atamar, that's what you said. Mitzora shesamach la miesmo. Mitzora, who they already designated yesterday, become Tor, Yotza, is Yoitze, meaning that he's yotze even if he doesn't do smicha. That's why about bismano. That's why about where the first korban he brings is his oshon. And then we say, well, since he can't do smicha, he doesn't have to. However, ibur's mano, if it's already after time, meaning Mitzora brings 3 korbanos, so chatas and all and oshon. If he brings one of the other korbanos, so then he's already mutter to have to touch kachim and eat them after his first korban is brought. So therefore, Ibur's mano, if already one of the other 2 korbanos is brought, not so Shalmei Nedava, then his korban is like Shalmei Nedava, and he actually has to do smicha. Omer Beisil Beishamai. My B'shor Shani Beisil Hediot, if at a time when I make it also for a commoner to cook, meaning on Shabbos, Hare Ani Matil Gavai allow you to do korbanos, the Talmid and Musaf, B'shoshu mutalejo, when a commoner is allowed to cook, right? So then, which is on Yontif, right? And additionally, not to go as not chomish regular korbanos be made. Shem mutar. So says more Amlim Beishamish said no. But in the Dharma Dovas Yochichu, prove it from absolute korbanos. Shem mutar lejo, which are mutar for a commoner to bring, but they're also it's also for right. This wasn't thinking. Just a minute. So he says Beishami again back to some we see a case where about the Dharma Davos where you can't bring them on Pesach because people are not going to be able to eat them. So we see that olos can't be sacrificed on Yontif because they're not ochel nefesh. So Beisil said no. The reason why they're pushed off is not because they're not ochel nefesh, because when a Kosh Baruch Hu eats, it's like ochel nefesh as well. Rather, since they don't have a set time, so make them after Yontif. Why rush them? Right? It's unnecessary. Torah Chagiga is opposed to Chagiga, which is a fixed time of Yontif. That's Torah Yontif. Beishami said no. Chagiga ain't manakavu either. Chagiga doesn't have a set time. Shim lo chag barisha. We didn't do Chagiga the first day of Yontif. Chagiga b'shei do the second day of Yontif. Lo chag b'shei didn't do the second day of Yontif. Chagiga b'shlishi do the third day of Yontif. Beisil said nevertheless Chagiga is manakavu. Chagiga has a set time. Shim lo chag baruch. If you never did Chagiga during the entire Yontif, and yochel lachuk achar aregel, you cannot do Chagiga after the Yontif. So therefore, it must be that it's part and parcel of the avoid of Yontif, and therefore it sacrifices Doicha Yontif, and that's why since it sacrifices Doicha Yontif, and we can extrapolate from there and say that Olos also anything which is suitable for the Yontif, as long as part of it's going to Shulchan Gavoy, you can sacrifice on Chol Hamoed as well. Okay? Says on Yontif as well. On Yontif as well. Says the Gemara, Amle Beishamai look for Ne'emar, Ach Asher Yishelchem never Shul Vado Yishelchem. It says the only thing which can be done for souls, and God is not a soul. Amle Beisil said Bisham Raya. For you, it's got to be something you can eat. But you can make things for Kodesh Baruch Hu, even if you know he's not your nefesh. Abishol Amro Tam Acher. Abishol gave Beitza another bosom. My Mishosha Kiras Chastuma. In on Shabbos, when your stove is closed, Kiras Rabcha Psucha, your father's, your Rebbe's mizbech, your stove is open and it's you sacrifice of karbanos. B'shasha kiras chapsucha, when your stove is open and you have to kick. Inodin shetehei kiras rapasucha. Certainly the table of your stove of your Rebbe should be open as well. You should be cooking stuff for Kodesh Baruch Hu, meaning olos. Another interpretation, it's not proper that your table should be full of food and God's table should be empty of food, and that's why Beisul says you're allowed to bring olos on Yontif. Okay, we'll stop here for today.